Is how did the band start off?
Well, the three of us, me, Cameron, Nick, and Steven, have known each other for a while, a couple years, and we've been in separate musical projects, um, but we'd always loved to get together and jam together. And I was in a group called Titan, and they were in a group called Wake of Redemption, and those two groups kind of dissolved at the same time. And when that happened, we were still getting together and playing a lot. So we thought, why don't we sort of pick up the remains of these other two groups and keep going? Um, and actually, the guitar player from Titan was with us for a while. Uh, he's not anymore, but he's on the first EP of ours. He has since left the band to do other things. But so that's kind of how we got together. We'd known each other for a long time, always shared musical interests, and finally had a chance to start a real project.
Oh, what year did you guys get together?
I guess that was about 3 years ago now. So yeah, around 2013.
So like when you guys got together, did you guys have like a different name, or just as soon as you got together, it was Kindler?
Yeah, so Kindler we came up with when we were going into the studio to record the EP, because we started playing and we started writing together before we played any shows or recorded anything. And we wanted to record the EP before we started playing. Um, so we were kind of nameless there for a while. Um, but then we got together and came up with Kindler right before we started recording.
Okay. Um. So what is the? How do you guys like? Your publicist or at least your manager, I think, Jen, right?
Yeah,
She
our
told me.
publicist, yeah.
She told me an interesting fact. She said that you guys recorded the EP by yourself.
Yes, we did.
Um.
So I'm an audio engineer
Oh, you are.
by trade. Yes.
Cool.
I and for the EP, the guitar player who's no longer with us, um, he is also an audio engineer. So he and I engineered that EP together. We tracked and mixed it, and then we had Jamie King here in North Carolina master it for us. And on the album, it's the same deal. I engineered it, I tracked it and mixed it, and then we got Bobcats to master it. And that's actually true for pretty much everything that we put out. We have uh, done everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of our thing, I guess.
Cool. And the album's name, title is Cosmic Revelations.
That's right.
Oh, where'd you get the inspiration to name it that way?
So um, we're all kind of huge nerds. We really enjoy uh, sci-fi stuff,
Sci-fi.
anything space. I especially do, and it was kind of born out of this joke from a couple bands ago, where I was in that band Titan. We were writing songs about space. Uh, we realized that there are probably about 4,000 other bands in the world called Titan, and so at some point we would have to change our name. And we thought, well, maybe we'd be okay with something like one of Saturn's moons, since Titan is one of Saturn's moons. Which gave birth to this story idea that I had, which is actually what the title track, Cosmic Revelations, is about. It's this silly story about a guy who becomes obsessed with the sun, and so he decides he's going to launch himself into space
Mm-hmm.
so he can get closer to it. And he ends up kind of, it goes horribly awry, and he ends up orbiting Saturn.
Yeah.
He has all these revelations about the meaning of life and humanity and all of that, and then he returns to Earth and begins to sort of spread his ideas around. So he has all these, cosmic revelations, and therefore that's where the
All right.
that's where the
So we got the album name. What was the name of the EP?
sorry.
What was the name of the EP?
The EP is called Afterglow.
Afterglow. Okay.
Yeah,
When was that recorded last year or
that was recorded in 2013, late
2013?
2013.
Okay. Was that when you guys had the guitars too, or okay?
That was when we had two guitar players. Um, Yeah, that one was recorded same place we recorded Cosmic Revelation, the Fidelatorium here in North Carolina. Um, yeah, that one was slightly different direction
Yeah.
writing as well. The writing style was in
The
a
writing
slightly
style.
different direction. Yeah.
How would you describe the writing style with the EP compared to your new upcoming album?
So a lot of it has to do with the fact that we were a four-piece at that time, and now we are a three-piece.
Yeah.
So when we were a four-piece, there was a lot more. For instance, as the bass player, I was doing a lot less because there is a lot less space when you've got two really fantastic guitar players that are playing these great, harmonized lines and lots of melodies on top of chord progressions and things like that. So there was much more. I don't want to say orchestrated because what we do is still very orchestrated, but it was slightly more of a kind of traditional sound, I guess.
Yeah.
A big rock sound.
Right.
And what we're doing now is a bit more experimental because we have so much more room as a three-piece in this sort of sonic palette, so to speak. We can all kind of play around a bit more with our sound, with our tone, with our parts, do things that are less, I guess, I'll say less traditional.
Less traditional?
I think that's a good way to put it. So, I'll play melody lines on the bass while Nick holds down the low end, or, he can do really, really atmospheric things while I'm doing something that's sort of like a Tool kind of bass line underneath it. So it's open. It's actually, losing a member has actually opened up a lot of possibilities for us, which has been really cool.
Cool. How long have you been playing bass?
I started playing bass when I was in 6th grade.
Sixth?
So that's now, God, going on 12 years, something like that.
Wow.
That sounds right. Same for most of the other guys. Nick started playing guitar when he was younger than that. He's going on 15, 16 years playing guitar. And Steven is around the same.
When you guys write the album, I'm just wondering, well, as you're writing the album, because it's still, hasn't come out, right? When is when is the album going to come out again?
The release date is March 11th.
March 11th?
And then our release show is March 18th.
Okay. When you guys get together and you create the album, do you get to play other instruments as well? Or is it just each member is owned up to their own instrument and that's how you guys work together?
Well, one of the fun things about working with Nick and Steven is that we all do more than just the one instrument. So I'm the bass player and the lead singer. Nick and Steven both sing lots of harmonies. I also am a trained pianist, but Nick also plays a bit of piano and Steven does some other percussion stuff. So on the album, there's a fair amount of synth, and that's me, and there's some organ, there's some celeste, and that's Nick plays the celeste, and there's each of us kind of took our turns at the keyboard instruments. So there, we do get to play around a bit with things other than just, I'm the bass player, he's a guitar player, and all that. We get to mess around when we go in and record, which is great.
Okay. You guys released Light and Ash on the 8th, right?
Yeah.
How was it working with your director, Jack?
Jack is amazing. We have used him for pretty much every video endeavor that we haven't done ourselves. And he's been just great. He has this really sharp mind for concepts. The music video for our first single off the EP, Shifting Ground, was entirely his idea. Great story about a woman overcoming adversity. And then this, Light and Ash, we came into it a little bit less, with less of a hard story, but we knew the idea we wanted to get across, which, again, similar to losing the guitar player, opened up a lot of possibilities for us. And Jack was able to do a lot of cool things with shadow and smoke and interesting light effects. And in the video, he's doing a lot of, and these are ideas that he kind of had on the spot, where he's doing a lot of capturing moments and then superimposing them on top of each other. And we've really enjoyed working with Jack and plan to do so a lot more in the future.
You said like since you guys said like there was kind of like a good amount of concept in the music videos that Jack produced with you. Now I want to ask you, when you guys were making the album, you said that you were a fan of sci-fi and kind of like all the nerdy stuff. But what is the theme do you think like the album captures when people listen to it?
Well, the theme of the album, we've kind of said that it captures this sort of ominous question mark, where a lot of the songs are about, and Light and Ash explicitly, but the others capture this theme too, where they're about uncertainty about the future, realizing that we have to sort of stumble into whatever comes, so to speak. Light and Ash is specifically about realizing that we have all these questions and we desperately want answers, and likely we'll never get answers to most of those questions, and that's okay, and that's part of being alive. So the whole thing is about this sort of impending uncertainty and dealing with the fact that you can't ever really get away from that as a human being.
Yeah. All right. So when I listen to your songs, especially Lights and Ash, your voice and your singing style sounds very like a very like alternative metals mixed with a lot of, like you said, like experimental music. Where do you get the influence from?
So a lot of bands like that are really important to me. I would say my biggest influences come from guys like Cedric in the Mars Volta. I was the biggest Rush nerd for the longest time. Geddy Lee is still is one of my biggest heroes, both the way he sings and the way he plays bass. But probably the biggest influence on me vocally would have to be Darrow Suter from the band Fair to Midland. He is absolutely unbelievable. They have, unfortunately, kind of quietly stopped playing, which is really sad. But he's got to be my biggest influence for sure.
And so does that accompany like your bass playing and singing, or just do those bands influence just your singing?
Those guys are mostly my vocal influences.
Yeah.
I would say bass, the big guys would be again Geddy Lee.
Yeah, Geddy Lee.
Awesome. And Justin Chancellor from Tool. And then John Stockman from Carnival are probably my three biggest influences as far as bass playing goes.
Okay. So do you guys have like these room sessions on YouTube? It's like where you guys, is that in your practice space?
Yeah, it is. That's in our little basement that we used to practice, and it's also the basement that Nick and Steven used to work out. You can see their squat racks and dumbbells and all that stuff over there. But yeah, so we, like I said, we do everything ourselves, and we put the mics up that we have. We track them. We've got a couple interfaces, and we've got cameras that we use, and we just set them up around our practice space, and that's how we make this.
So you mentioned like some of the gear. Can you talk about what gear each member uses?
Yeah. So I can talk specifically about mine first. I use Spectre basses. I've got a NS4 Buckeye Burl finish. It's really an unbelievably beautiful guitar. And for amps, I play SWR. And unfortunately, SWR is no more. Fender bought them up and they axed them.
Oh.
So that's fun, which is really unfortunate. And then a wide array of pedals. The ones I use the most are BB distortion pedal, and then the exotic BB distortion pedal, and then I'm awfully fond of my micro Pog and delay pedal in combination, MXR carbon copy. That's great to mess around with. Nick is playing Sir guitars. He's got the Guthrie Govan signature model, and he's playing into a Mesa Boogie Royal Atlantic, 100-watt head, and then a Mesa 2x12 and a Mesa 4x12. And he switches out. And he's got just a load of pedals that he runs through too. He's a big digital pedal guy, so he's got the Mobius, Strymon Mobius, and Eventide Time Factory for modulation and delay and all that. And it's got the Eventide H9 for reverbs. And that's all I can remember right now. But Steven plays Yamaha drums. He's got two kits. He's got a Maple custom, and then he's got a Birch custom. And all of the album was recorded with the Birch custom kit, and all of the basement sessions he's playing the Birch in. And he's got an array of cymbals, mostly Zildjian. He's a big Zildjian fan, mostly A customs. He does have a Meinl Ride, it's the Brondaler signature, and that thing sounds amazing.
Cool.
And he's got a Peisty Crash as well that he plays.
That's
kind of an overview.
Alright, cool. So how did you get in contact with the Catalyst production and like the whole management? And, like, how do they help you guys out?
So Catalyst is doing our PR for us on this release, and they've been great. We actually found them because Nick was curious and was listening to a bunch of podcasts about PR, and he actually heard Jim on one of those podcasts talking about Catalyst and the way that she goes about her business, and was really intrigued by the fact that she's so interested in developing as opposed to established groups. Obviously, they work with a lot of really large footprint groups. Well, but she her passion is kind of in developing artists, helping artists get attention when they really, really need it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting for us. So we thought, that's great. This is kind of her purpose, what she's really driven about, and got in touch with her, and kind of the rest is history. So
cool.
they've been great for us.
So usually most bands, they have like highs and they have lows when they go into a recording studio. What was the most like frustrating yet the best experience you guys had producing the album?
So the most frustrating part would definitely be the fact that when you're in the studio we were in the studio for, I think, it's a real rush job, about 8 days. We tracked everything. And by the end of it, we were entirely nocturnal, which was actually awful. It started out because we get in there, it's like 10 a.m., like, yeah, let's go all day. And so we track until 3, and then we sleep until 11. And then we start working, and by the time we're working, it's noon, and then we go until 4. And then we sleep until noon, and then we start working at 2, and then we go until 6. And that just keeps happening until, we were waking up at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and working until 7 or 8 on the last few days of our time in the studio, which was really, really, it gets to you. It gets to you psychologically. But the best part would be when we tracked the title track, Cosmic Revelations, because that one has the most sort of outside instruments on it.
Yeah.
And there's a section that's supposed to sort of describe the character floating aimlessly through space. And we discovered in the studio an old Roland Juno 60 synth, and fell in love with that since we've been in the studio, I had to buy one for myself, and now we're using it on some new stuff, and that's really great. But we used that. That was sort of a whoa kind of moment when we started putting that down on the track. That was really awesome. And then we laid down some organ and some mellotron and a little bit of piano, and it was like this, because we had never been able to do that in the songwriting stage, but we knew what we wanted, and so it was like seeing this grand idea sort of finally come to life. That was really awesome. That was definitely the best part of the tracking process.
Cool. When are you guys gonna start touring, or do you guys play like the in-state shows or out of state?
It depends. So we've been focusing really heavily on the basement session stuff. Recently. So that's been our sort of performance, because that's been so much work for us. Really satisfying stuff, but that's been that's kind of taken the place of shows for the last really year about, because they've been so labor intensive. We are playing our CD release show in state in March, but we have done, we've gone out and played with the guys in Dream Electric Sleep out in Kentucky, and we've played loads of shows around North Carolina. We've mostly been North Carolina based, so we're hoping to expand for sure after this album comes out. We've got a lot of cool ideas for shows. We're hoping to do some multimedia stuff with Jack. We've been talking to him about putting together videos that we then score, and then we perform the score at the show as a band, and play the video. So we're hoping to do a lot of that this coming year, and we'll play that stuff wherever they'll let us.
What do you do when usually like the band doesn't get together or not rehearse, or do you work with other bands? Do you work with other bands, or when the band is not together, or?
Yeah, we all have day gigs. Nick works in IT, and Steven does flooring, and I'm an audio engineer. But I also play with a couple other bands. I do solo stuff sometimes on the side. We definitely fill our time outside of Kindler, but Kindler is a pretty consuming project.
Yeah. Oh, so would you consider it like not a full band, or is it like just kind of like a project that's you guys want to be a band? You know what I mean? Like, do you understand?
That's definitely it's a band. Okay. I just say project because we do have other things going on, but Kindler is definitely our, for all three of us, it's our number one. So it is the band that we all exist in.
Okay. I just have a few more questions, and that's it.
Okay.
Sure. Did you go to school for audio engineering, or did you learn by yourself and set up like your own home studio?
Both. So I did go to school for it. Cool. I went to App State here in North Carolina, and they have a really fantastic recording and production program. We got to, and that was where I got my training. After that, I interned at the Fitzpatrick, and then I kind of set up my own home studio and started recording. Kindler came around about at the end of my internship, and we started doing our own stuff. And so I got a lot of training from recording us, and I've been working in a post-production studio for about a year and a half now, and that's been a lot of good training as well. Slightly different side of things, but yeah. So combination. Went to school for it, and then sort of dove in head first for our project.
Cool. If you had a dream tour or a dream show, who would you want to open up for? Like, what's your dream band?
I think the dream show would be Kindler and Carnival, or Kindler and Steven Wilson. Those two, or if we could do Kindler, Carnival, and Steven Wilson, that would be incredible. Those two bands are really, really hugely important to us, and if we could swing that would be that'd be a dream come true.
Cool. And so, can you give any like say goals that you want to achieve by the maybe halfway through the year that maybe you can start something um, after that? What are the goals for
Yeah.
Kindler?
So our goal is to, so we've got the album coming out in March, and we are going to immediately after that begin writing for that project that I mentioned with Jack, where we're putting together film scores for his little short films and then start performing them. And that'll be a cumulative thing, but we're hoping that by the end of the year we'll have 4 or 5 done, and we'll be able to put them out as an EP DVD package. So that's the next goal for Kindler, is to get into this sort of multimedia side of things. We're really, really excited about that. Get to tell some cool stories with music and video. It's going to be really cool.
Okay, cool. Usually I ask bands like silly question. Can you describe your band members in any adjective? It can be anything.
Any adjective to describe our band?
Yeah. No. The band members. Like the
band members.
Yeah. Steven and Nick.
Okay, yeah. Steven, I would describe myself, I guess. I'm kind of the angsty one. Steven is probably the hot one if we had to give that name to somebody. Yeah, he's the heartthrob. And Nick's bald. So that's Nick's bald.
All right. Okay. So last question. What would you like your like new fans or just your fans in general right now? What would you like them to get out of the album once they listen to it?
Hopefully, they would take away, a great experience to put it on from beginning to end, and have it be sort of a moment, so to speak, where you don't always have to listen to it, but I would really love for people to have it be one of those albums that when you put it on because you really want to listen to the whole thing. You want to sit down, close your eyes and let the whole thing play through and let it be a moment, a musical experience.
Cool.
That would be my hope.
Awesome. Well, I'll stop recording. So,
okay.
Done.